The tabletop takeaway.
Game mechanics on display.
Three designers share the stage.
Pick a genre and we'll play.
The tabletop takeaway.
Welcome back to the Tabletop Takeaway. I'm Trevor Muller-Hagel.
I'm Ananda.
And I'm Charlie McCarran.
And this is our wrap-up episode on tabletop role-playing games, TTRPGs. Thank you for following along with us. This is probably one of the most ambitious ones we've done to date because we also aired each individual session of the RPGs. We also played a little bit of In This World at the very beginning as our kind of session 0. And here we are just wrapping up what makes RPGs fun. That's a very loaded statement. But we played with Dungeons & Dragons, Dungeon World, and Dread. And we followed this group of 3 characters through each system as they were developed. And I think this was actually a much better success than I had anticipated. I really enjoyed the whole process. And
I mean, I had faith in us.
Oh, yeah. All the faith.
I thought it was a cool idea, and then the moment we started recording and had to act out our characters, I was like, oh no, where is this going? But yeah, I actually had a ton of fun, and also got to be a GM for the first time ever. So
yeah.
That was pretty fun doing Dread.
Yeah, this makes me want to get back into RPGs.
Yeah. And one of the biggest failings is also one of the biggest important things about RPGs, and that's your investment into a longer story typically. And a lot of these board games we play, it's a one-off, and you play it through the thing. It could also be a campaign game, right? You can play campaign board games. Typically they're RPGs, but there are Euro-style campaign games and legacy games. But what I love about this is that you have so much more creativity and so much more control and so much more just of yourself that goes into each game. And I think that's just a huge benefit of RPGs in general. I really love that.
Well, yeah, RPGs let you do something you can't do with any other type of board game, in that any board game, which is board games have very clearly defined rules. Mm-hmm. And everything has to work within the rules of the game generally. Yeah. Whereas with RPGs, you can just do things, and the GM will have to figure out a way to make it work.
They will react to you, and you react to them, and then it's a lot of reaction.
But it's just there's a lot more freedom in what you can choose to do.
Yeah,
it's more like real life where you could choose to do anything, as opposed to having to pick from a
what can I do?
Actions.
Yeah.
Well, what do you want to do?
Well, and maybe what defines it even more is there's not a specific goal. Like, most games have a goal, and this is how you win.
Right.
Yeah, and there's not really a goal, which became very apparent as I was trying to be the host in Dread of oh, wait, how should I end this game? And the onus is really on the game master to figure out.
We're also following, the GM's lead as to what the story is and where we're going, but we also do our own twist. I think we should go this way because of my character, because of this, what we've done. And then it causes a lot of improvisation to happen, which, you don't do a lot of real, improvising in a lot of games, which I really like. Being able to improvise and just think up something on the spot, and maybe it's terrible. You might have just thought of the worst thing that you could possibly have done, but you know what? It doesn't matter. It's done. It's out there, and now you react and you move on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and I always think about games allowing players to feel clever, and there's a lot of moments in these RPGs that you can feel like you did a clever thing by working around whatever. That maybe you go in the
purple flowers.
Yeah, the purple flowers.
Which Ananda had a clever moment with. And I think Charlie had a clever moment with, too, as the GM or as the host.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah. It was fun bouncing ideas back and forth because, you can feel clever as the game master.
Yeah.
When the players pick up on, some hints that you're throwing their way, and then they use those hints and,
Well, and just in terms of munchkinning, so munchkinning, taking a rule of a game and finding unique and unexpected ways to exploit it.
Oh, sure.
I guess you think that would be a reasonable...
I've never heard that.
Definite.
But from the game Munchkin?
Oh, I think the term preceded the game.
Oh. I don't know. The only other Munchkin term I know of is from Wizard of Oz. So.
Oh, you haven't heard the game? Okay, so yeah, a Munchkin is someone who like sort of takes the rules and finds unusual ways to exploit them.
Oh, I guess I do that a lot. Or I try to.
Unexpected, unintended ways. And this is really something that happens more in RPGs than in other types of games because you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like, you give a player a magical... For example, like you give them a bottle of water that doesn't run dry so that they never go thirsty, and then they turn it upside down and flood a town with it.
Yeah. Excellent example.
Very simple example. But just players finding creative uses for the magical items you give them.
Or even just their environment in general.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
And you can only do that in RPGs.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't combine a axe card with a fire card and have anything other than a fire axe.
You're normally limited to whatever the game designer provided for you.
Whatever fits the bounds of the design itself.
Yes.
Like, it's like, oh, can I use that fire and that axe to like start a fire and then it grows to a forest fire? It's like, well, no, you're playing a board game. You can't. But in an RPG, it's like, oh, I mean, you can try. And that's one of my favorite sentences as a GM. It's like, oh, yeah, you can try.
Yeah. So, question for either of you: if you've played, so there's like GM-less games.
Sure. I've played GM-less games.
Yeah. So, with no game master, there's probably a lot of different ways to do it. But what are some ways that works?
In fact, Charlie, we have played a GM-less game because we played In This World, which is a GM-less RPG. I mean. It's
a storytelling game. That's what we used it for in our storytelling series.
Storytelling, yeah.
Well, and we also used it for Session 0 of this series.
And Session 0 of this series.
And that is an example of how to do a GM-less game. I mean, I think the key point is... So one of the things I think about with RPGs is who has authority over what? Because in the games that we played, for the most part... the players have authority over their characters, and the GM has authority over everything else.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily the only way to divide it up. So, like, in this world, everybody has fiat power when it's their turn to speak.
Right.
They have authority over everything. And you can imagine maybe a system where different people have authority over different aspects of the world. Like maybe one person is in charge of the people, one person is in charge of the animals, one person is in charge of nature. So I think many of the differences between RPG systems are how you divide up that authority. And then the other important aspect, of course, is how you resolve conflict.
Only dice rolls. That's really all you should ever use in RPGs. I'm kidding.
Yeah, well, in this world, there is no conflict, I don't think, because everything has to be consistent.
Right, because you always have someone who is saying something, and that what they say is what they say.
Yes.
Like, you can't have conflict.
Right, because
really.
Everyone has absolute authority over everything.
Right.
But when you have sort of... I guess it's on the interface between two different players' authorities that conflict arises. Like, for example, when a player is trying to do something and the GM representing the world says, well, that doesn't necessarily happen, that's when you need a conflict resolution mechanism.
Well, why doesn't it happen? I'm a mage. I should be able to cast a spell. Yeah. Okay, well, you shouldn't. So let's figure out what happens.
Yeah, and then you, like, roll dice or something.
Or knock over a Jenga tower.
Yeah. So have you played other ones, Trevor?
Other GM-less games?
Yeah.
I have not played a lot of GM-less games.
I've played a couple. I played Fiasco. I played... what is it 1001 Nights? Or is it... I know there's one that's like just... I forget the exact name, but it's something similar to 1001 Nights. But it's not the one that's like a big... book of different things. It's a different one where players are telling stories within stories. Anyway,
well, what are some other methods they use for like doing that as a group? You just kind of figure out the story? Are you like drawing some cards to propel the story forward? Or
they all have different ways of kind of going through that, right? Because like, I know a lot of them have, you could have a computer system that actually is telling a story that is the GM. So that isn't technically a GM-less game because the computer is running it. And I think it's called Paracle. It's a local designer's game. They haven't come to Design Days at all, but like they've been pushing this game for a while now, and it's a GM-less game where you can just go on an adventure with your friends, and things happen that the game figures out. Otherwise, like you have these other games that use like just like Ananda's saying, where you have authority over like a faction or a group or a city or a country, and you're able to just like express that, but that's all you have control over, and so then someone else then has control over what they're doing. And you all respond to each other and have conflict resolution. And so, yes, a lot of times I've seen cards. Cards is pretty common, if not dice. Obviously, Dread is the only one I know that uses a Jenga tower. But I don't think I've seen a lot of other resolution types. I don't dive deep into the variety of different RPGs. I tend to stick to...
A lot of them are dice. Even in GM-less games.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, there's something very satisfying about rolling dice, but also something very frustrating that a lot of people don't like rolling dice because of just it's completely random every time, and if they keep failing, they don't like failing, and so that's absolutely fair. But I love dice.
Personally, I like the idea that the story changes quite a bit based on how well you roll. Like if you're rolling really bad overall, like it's just a funnier outcome.
Yeah, and a lot of people just don't like it if they just randomly die because of a series of 3 bad rolls or something. Like that can feel really bad. But then again, if it's if you have a GM, a DM, that's their job to kind of figure out what's going on there and to help alleviate that frustration.
Yeah. Some slightly different topic is some people have described Blood on the Clock Tower as sort of an RPG social deduction game, which I'm not sure if I agree with, but what do you
I'm not against the concept. I don't know.
Blood on the Clock Tower, if you haven't heard our episode on it.
Go listen to it now.
Yeah, it's like social deduction game like Werewolf or something, but
like
much
one night, but more intense.
Yeah, much more complicated in terms of the rules, and you can go around and talk to people. And
Takes place over multiple days.
Yes, but is it an RPG?
You are playing a role. Technically, you are a role in that town of some kind. And what is an RPG?
Yeah, it feels closer to like a murder mystery party.
Yeah.
That would be...
Are murder mystery parties
I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, I think maybe the reason some people talk about it as an RPG is because of the powerful role of the game master in that game, which is... I think it's much more powerful than in a lot of other social deduction games.
Yes.
The game master does make quite a few decisions.
Yeah.
Sure.
And there's a lot of creativity. Like, I think one of the most recent roles that they released was like the wizard where they get to make a wish. And the game master has to
figure out
that
what
somehow.
But
I don't know if I would call it an RPG.
Sure.
Yeah, I have a hard time calling a lot of things RPGs just because I'm a little elitist and I try not to be. But for me, a lot of people to be fair, Blood on the Clock Tower is much more a game than a lot of other RPGs out there, right? Because it is very much a mechanical. This is the day-night cycle. This is what you're doing. You are now all sleeping. You are now all awake.
The things that you can do are pretty constrained.
It's very, very turn-based in the sense that, or round-based, where certain things happen in a certain sequence.
And there are winners and losers.
And there's winners and losers.
Does not generally happen in RPGs.
Nope, it does not. So, and normally the players are not the antagonists in the RPGs, which I actually think is really interesting if you did have an RPG where a player was an antagonist.
Oh, I'm sure those are... Antagonist in the sort that,
where one player is an antagonist and other players are protagonists.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think... But isn't there, player versus player...
PvP?
Yeah.
And, you can have that in games. But I mean,
But I guess
like,
they're not really designed around it.
in a narrative fashion, like where a player is like, instead of the GM running it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say it is sort of like the GM is the antagonist.
The GM creates the antagonist and runs the antagonist.
Ideally making it fun for the players. So
Right.
that's
Yeah. But I mean, the GM isn't really against the players.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and so like if you have someone who is a player who is just like against the other players, but mechanically it like works.
Mechanically, for that to happen, there has to be a concept of winning or losing.
Exactly.
Otherwise, fictionally, you might be an antagonist, but you're not like
right.
really opposed.
It sounds like it feels like it would be more like a debate team sort of thing.
Sure.
Like, you know,
our team
do
versus
your
your
best
team.
telling this story, and then you do your best telling your story, and then see what the ruling is from the game master.
You'd almost need then a third group to be like the influenced people and to award points to either side. Mm-hmm. But I guess that could be the GM.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like RPGs have a lot of depth and a lot of things that they can do. And you know, there's a lot of like one-page RPGs have been really common over the past probably decade or so, or maybe even more at this point. I don't know what year it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, one
a lot
page,
of experimental ones.
yeah,
too.
where it's just like you just put out rules on a sheet, and you know it's a very basic concept. Maybe there will be dice involved. Maybe there will be cards. There'll be a deck of playing cards. You know, and they just walk through like what the world is like, what the system is like, and then you just play a game.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they're one shots, but maybe you can make a campaign out of it.
Yeah. And sometimes solo RPGs where you're just like thinking, it's just like thought provoking thing. Like,
well, and they
think
have
of the story in your head, and
they also have journals, like RPG journals,
oh, okay.
where you can actually play through a game through in a journal, and it's a solo RPG experience, and it's really interesting. I have the hardest time with games that present themselves as RPGs where they've removed all of the gaming aspects and it's just role playing. That I have a harder time with because it's just not a game anymore. It's just you're role playing back and forth, and that's fine. It's fine. I just get really elitist about that, and I don't know why.
So Dread seems like it would be on the fringe of that.
It is, but it has very much a central game mechanic, which is the Jenga tower.
Sure.
That you're interacting with, and you're trying to do something, and you're also telling a story through that mechanism. So there is like, there's
a tabletop element to it.
Yeah.
There's not just. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you can like do RPGs around a campfire and like figure out things like that too. But like, yeah, I like
campfire RPG. You have to like throw sticks in and see how long they last before they burn up, or you have to.
You can't make an action until the stick is burned up again.
Toast a marshmallow if it catches on fire.
Yes.
Your character's on fire.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Oh, that's great.
Although you need to toast it to a certain extent, I guess. So you can't just pull it out immediately. Maybe it's the amount of time that it's toasting.
It's graded by how golden brown it is without being burnt.
I guess you have a GM. They can just evaluate whether it's sufficiently toasted or not.
I feel like this scouts the game or something like that.
That sounds really fun. Actually, like I've been thinking about games. I want to someday make a collection of games you can play outside. And like my friend and I made one about that's collecting rocks and then having rock competitions with each other. That sounds like it's throwing rocks at each other, but no. Anyways,
comparing rocks with each other.
Yeah, so maybe that campfire one could be part of that. And I wanted to ask you guys, since, especially Trevor, you've been designing RPGs. That's what got you into it. So, like, what kind of RPGs do you make, and what makes them fun to create?
What's hard for me is that I always try to design the all-encompassing RPG, which I know, like, now that's not the best way to go about RPG design for especially your first one. But for me, I love the idea of, magic and things like that, all these, more fantastic concepts, and being able to put yourself in those shoes and see what life would be like with that fantastic element, and creating frameworks for how that element can work. And so that's what I really enjoy about it, is just finding these systems and figuring out what can feel really real while also still being fantastic. And the more real it feels while being fantastic, the more immersed I feel like you get into the game. And obviously, like when you're role playing, you can get really immersed emotionally, like in Dread, where you're talking about the fears of the character and the fears of these things. I haven't actually explored the emotional side of my RPGs, and I think that would be a really fun way to go about it too. D&D did try to do it for a while with like listing your ideals and things like that on your character sheet. Mostly I didn't have people even look at that after they wrote down things. But sometimes they did, and it helped influence their decisions.
Well, in Dungeon World, the alignment of just saying, I am good.
Yeah, mechanizing.
Okay, that gave me the goal of like, oh, I don't want to slay this cow. I want to try to save that cow. So.
Yeah.
And I think like just simple mechanics like that are so powerful because it not only influences your behavior, but rewards you for the behavior that aligns with your character. So I've worked on, I think, 2 fantasy RPGs, zombie RPG, and then my sci-fi fantasy RPG, and then I think another one that I forgot about. So yeah, I really like to work in fantasy. I really like magic. I really like systems. I have a hard time stepping away from systems. And I think like I need to do that because more intense systems makes it harder to approach for players.
Yeah.
And so having it be a very simple system that's easy to interact with and then be creative with and play with, I think is the key.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like there's definitely a sweet spot between like totally out of the blue story and like enough mechanics, but it doesn't like get in the way of people wanting to be creative. For at least from my perspective, I'd rather lean into the story and creativity than like, but yeah, I really enjoyed D&D and Dungeon World for that because I was noticing like Dread. I think maybe I could give you more tools, but definitely having those character sheets in front of us in the other 2 was like, ooh, okay, that gives me an idea of what I could do.
Yeah.
Whereas like Dread,
and
it's
who
like,
I am.
Well, yeah.
I guess I could do whatever. I guess I just run away from this danger.
Yes.
And most of my choices were based off of my prior character sheets.
Right, exactly.
Like, that's the spell I had.
Yeah, what I like especially about the way that Dungeon World presents moves is, you know, in Dread, the GM really has full control over almost everything, right? The players are sort of at the mercy of whatever the GM decides. That's not the case in Dungeon World, because through the use of moves, the players can constrain what the GM is able to do. Like when you make a move and your move fails or partially succeeds, the move will tell you like what the consequences of failure are, and so the GM has to use those consequences. So the moves empower players a bit and give them sort of a tightly packaged piece of authority over the fiction. You know, they get a tiny fragment of the GM's power that they can use to take control of a tiny part of the world in a very specific way, which is fun because then, you know, you have to be creative with how you use your sort of your crystallized authority.
It's kind of like also if you have a hammer, everything's a nail, and you start to look at the world a little bit like, ooh, how could I use my power of summoning vines to ensnare something?
Yeah, and you know that's huge.
Or like just making up facts.
Oh yeah, if I fight fire with fire, that will definitely save everything. Oh god.
I was sort of hoping you guys wouldn't have the dragon put out the fire so that I could, in Dread, just make the entire world flaming and Anyways. So what kind of RPG though would you make now that I've been thinking about it a lot.
So going into this series, I thought that I'd have some fun playing RPGs, but I'm not really an RPG designer. I guess I've tried it once or twice in the past, but after playing Dread, I did actually have an idea, which I kind of feel like I have to try out, which is a whodunit RPG but where the central mechanic for conflict resolution is hangman. So like players try to do something tricky, they have to guess a letter. Either the letter is in the word or it's not. If it's not, they fail, and there are consequences for failing. If it is in the word, then they succeed, and the word, when spelled out, is some clue as to the solution of the mystery.
Which I actually appreciate because an inverted dread system, I just realized, where like as you are succeeding, then you fail.
Yes.
This is you fail, and then we're running out of options.
Right.
Now we know what letters it might be.
Right, yeah, you get closer and closer.
Yeah.
As you get closer and closer to the solution, you start to succeed more and more, which is I think that's how mysteries work, right?
Yeah.
Fictionally.
Well, and I think also like if you do botch it and you have the hangman created, then that could be a critical failure.
Yeah.
And that could like, okay, that clue is ruined now, and now we have to do a new one.
Yeah, there's some complication. I don't know exactly how it would work, but I want to try making an RPG that doesn't use dice for resolution. And I think Hangman with a whodunit is seems like a fun option.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I think it also lends itself very well to a one-shot. Mm-hmm. Like a mystery seems like perfect for a one-shot. And I think one-shots are very approachable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also a lot easier to play test.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I won't go into playtesting. And for me, like, I kind of went the other direction a little bit. And I want to kind of combine Dread with almost a Dungeon World situation, or obviously my own system, because I just love making RPG systems. But yeah, like, I love the idea of it feeling good for your character to have a heroic death. And then something happens with that heroic death that sets up like your next character that you'll bring into the game. And I just love that, where it's like you're telling a longer story than Dread, but you're not crippling people in like a D&D campaign. Like, oh, your character died, now you have to create a new character. It's like, okay, I'll be back in 3 hours or so. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, and I kind of liked it. I actually, in Dread, I was thinking, it's kind of sad to lose the character right away, but I wanted to kill off my character since I was the host anyways. But I was thinking, like, I was going to bring him back to give advice once in a while or little hints, but he, I guess, just
he walked towards the dark.
Void, so, and I forgot about him, to be honest.
And then suddenly it was Whistly's parents.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. So I think for me, well, a lot of times I forget that I actually have designed something that we're talking about. So this one, I sort of did Choose Your Own Adventure small RPG deck through Troubadeck, because I'm making a musical mini RPG. And you guys have both kind of tested it. But my idea is can I make a whole little story based on a deck of poker cards? And so for that one, it's you draw a card, and it'll say a little bit of story element, and then you have to make up a song based on that as a group. And it's got chords on the bottom, and you choose to play if you choose, there's usually either like happy chords or sad chords based on what you've picked from the previous card that you did, and then that's going to kind of color your song lyrics. And then at the bottom, if you choose one thing or the other, it'll send you to a different card in the deck, and so it's kind of like a choose your own adventure path.
Yeah.
And the thing, game design wise, that's tricky is like, how do I make this a compelling story if people are literally just drawing random cards, having random encounters with different characters? And when I was testing it, I started sort of at the end thinking like, I got to know how the story will end. But then I realized, like, as people are playing it out, what happens if they make a song that's really creative, but it goes off into some other tangent, and then the next card they draw has nothing to do with that? It's a totally different thing. So, yeah, I'm not sure how to handle that. Like, I might have to just, put it on railroads a little bit more than, yeah.
Well, you know, like it's interesting with like choose your own adventure games. I think what was it? Bandersnatch. Is that the name of it?
Yeah, the Black Mirror.
Yeah, Black
Choose
Mirror
Your Own
Netflix.
Adventure.
Yeah, where you don't actually, when you make a choice, you actually just go to the next card with that choice like being what you made, but nothing changes.
Oh.
Until like things do change, like, well, did I influence that, or was it the story, or was I railroaded into the story?
Oh,
it's
you don't actually know, really?
Yeah, it's a fun experience on Netflix. I will say that.
Okay.
Not sponsored by Netflix, by the way. If only.
Yep. We do not have sponsors, and probably won't ever.
Yep, but that's okay.
That's yeah.
But yeah, so it's fun to like kind of play with those concepts, and it could be that, you know, maybe there's groups of cards or something that all synergize together in a certain way, or you have like basic cards that you start with that lead to more advanced cards of the story.
Yeah.
So they can kind of synergize a little bit easier. You know, you can't go to one of these cards that you started with.
Yep.
And so that just helps you kind of limit the random chance just a little bit more.
And what I was learning, because it's already kind of hard to come up with songs on the spot.
Yeah, it is.
And I was realizing, like, okay, I need to make these early cards have really compelling and weird, unique things on them to give people a lot of material to work with.
Sure.
Like, throughout the whole story. So I think that was my learning from that. Maybe I'll make that my takeaway.
Ooh,
for
there you
RPGs
go.
is like giving players enough, and the game master, enough stuff that they can fill out this world with like really fun stuff. Because like
be able to easily improvise in it.
Yeah. Especially I was feeling that during Dread. It's like, okay, because I was kind of going on the fly. I'm like, oh, I'm glad we had these flowers that had magical powers, so we could bring those back, and yeah,
and make them real weird.
Yep.
I think my takeaway from, you know, designing tabletop RPGs would probably be to focus on the experience a little bit more than just trying to simulate reality with fantasy. Because that's what I always tend to do is just focus on how do I make this feel nice and real in some capacity, and then make it fantastic. And like, I never focus on the emotional element, which RPGs, there's a lot of emotion that happen in RPGs, even if it's excitement or, you know, joy or, you know, hey, I got that last goblin, woo, you know, something. And I normally don't focus on that because I try to let that be just what happens at the table. Mm-hmm. But I think having a little bit more focus could be really nice on those emotional chords, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my takeaway from playing these three games is sort of a high-level view of, I guess, authority in RPGs, which is, in an RPG system with a GM, the GM is basically God.
Sure.
And the mechanics of whatever system you're using are the ways in which the players can usurp that authority.
Can usurp God. Yep.
Yes. And so, like, I was talking a little while ago about in Dungeon World, moves are crystallized authority, little pieces of the world where the players can exert control over what the GM has planned, and the GM has to go along with whatever the move says. So by triggering those moves, the players are usurping the GM's authority in ways that are fun and can be used creatively. And in Dread, the only resolution mechanic is the Jenga tower, which is pass or die. So the players can succeed, I guess, at tasks that the GM deems it possible for them to succeed at, which, you know, you can generally agree on what those are. And it's always an all or nothing type thing, but within that framework, the players can still exert the authority to succeed until they die, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever you want to try to do in the game, you will either succeed or you will die, and
success or death,
which is different from a system where you can fail at things without dying. So however you set up your RPG system, you want to, I guess the flavor of your RPG is going to determine on what things the players can usurp from the GM.
Yeah.
So I guess, my takeaway is just sort of viewing RPGs through that lens.
Cool. Well, that was an epic series.
Whew, man.
And thanks if you've been listening through all our special episodes with the story and everything. Tune in to our next series, which I think we've foreshadowed a little bit.
You did the last episode.
In the last episode. Yeah. But you will find out soon. And as always, stay tuned on the Discord too. Say hi there.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Tabletop